Good evening to all the viewers. Hope everyone is doing fine during the dire straits. I'm Janki Kanakia from NMIMS University Students' Council, and we are so grateful to welcome Mr. Manish Makhijani on board with us. He's the winner of the Ginny Valentine Award and also the Vice President of the Market Research Society of India. He had started his journey working with Blue Star Limited Company as an engineer, and today we see him working as the Global Consumer Insights Director at Unilever for 17 years now. He had completed his MBA graduation through NMIMS, and today we are so proud to have gotten connected to the alumni like him. So, sir, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Janki. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you, sir. So let's utilize the precious time that you've given to us and get some more insights about the corporate world. So, sir, obviously, the very first question that comes to all of our minds is what is a consumer insights director and what are the duties that a consumer insights director has to perform?
Well, I think it's the most interesting job in the world, to be honest. Consumer Insights Director, as the name suggests, is about insights of about consumers. So my job is to understand people, to see what are they like, what do they don't like, what are their dreams, what are their aspirations, um, etc., and sort of translate that into what our brands can do, what kind of product can we offer to consumers, what kind of advertising can we create, what sort of innovations can we do, etc. So all the marketing activities that you see are underpinned by consumer insights. So I'll give you an example. If you look at Lux ad, Lux has been doing. Are you familiar with the Lux soap ad
Yeah,
brand?
yeah, obviously.
No, when I talk to a lot of people in your generation, a lot of them have never seen an ad of Lux because a lot of you guys don't watch TV. Um, so Lux soap, I don't know if you know, but has been present in India, for instance, for about 85 years now. And for most of those 85 years in India, we've used the number one film star, the film actress in Lux advertising. So like Alia
Mhm,
Bhatt, Alia Bhatt is currently features in Lux advertising and Deepika
mhm,
Padukone and so on. So right from the stars of the 1940s to now to Alia Bhatt, we've always used the number one leading film star in Lux. Now,
mhm.
if I asked you, for example, that Janki, if you use Lux soap, do you think by using Lux soap you'll start looking like Alia Bhatt?
No.
No, right? So nobody in their rational mind should say yes to that. But people still use Lux soap. It's still the number one soap in India. It has
Mhm,
remained number one soap for 85 years, and we've used it, sort of sold it on the same platform. So, what's the insight behind it? Why does that advertising work? Why does when Kareena Kapoor, looking absolutely gorgeous, wakes up from the bathtub and walks, and you can see the aura of beauty and glamour and fragrance and soft skin around her, and we say, Lux soap, why do people believe that and why do we use it? So there has been insight behind it. You've got to understand the reason. That's because otherwise you'll do the advertising in the wrong way. And
mhm,
you will say that, okay, these film stars are too expensive, let's not use them anymore, and the brand will come crashing. So what's the consumer insight behind it? What happens when people do that? Despite a lot of criticism, the brand Glow and Lovely, for instance, continues
mhm,
to be the largest selling cream in India. So why does it continue to be the largest selling cream in India? What's the insight behind it? What do women actually feel about the skin color, and why do we sell a brand like that? So all that is underpinned by consumer insights, and that is my job essentially, to understand people, understand their dreams, understand their aspirations, understand the problems they have, and see how a product can meet a consumer demand, consumer needs. So that's it.
mhm.
That's what a consumer insight professional does.
Oh, that sounds really very interesting. Okay. So, sir, you said you need to know about marketing skills and all of that. So, you have done your MBA through NMIMS. So, can you tell
Yes.
us how NMIMS has helped you and how you could reach your goal?
Well, I think I'm not saying that just because you've called me, you're nice to me, and you called me for an interview. I'm saying that because I genuinely believe it. But I think NMIM has had a fantastic impact on my career, and I think it completely changed me. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm an engineer. I did my engineering from VJTI, and I did mechanical engineering, and I worked as an engineer for about a year in Blue Star, and I hated my job. I don't want to demotivate you and say that you'll hate your job. That's probably not likely to happen.
Mhm.
But I just didn't like it. I hated my job as a mechanical engineer, and um, I was quite lost and I was quite clueless, and I didn't know how to progress in my career. Obviously, a lot of people from IITs and BGTI and from engineers were going to B schools, and they were going to IIMs and other sort of well-known reputed institutes to do MBA from my batch. Also went, so there was always an option, but I wasn't sure I wanted to go to a B school. But because I didn't like my job in engineering, and I thought that I wanted to do something different, I wanted to be in advertising. Is why I finally thought, okay, I'll go and go to B school and do an MBA. So I decided to go to B school. So I think when I came to NM, it gave me, I was underconfident, I was lost. I didn't know where my career was headed. I don't know how can I manage my career better. Though I had a corporate experience working as an engineer in Blue Star, I didn't have much of my head around, how's a business actually run, and how to manage business. So I think NMIMS gave me a great footing and great turnaround for 2 years to get me huge amount of confidence, to understand, to get clarity in my head as to what did I wanted in life, what did I want out of my career, what sort of a career did I want, etc. Give me a confidence to be able to follow what I thought was right for me, etc. So I think that was a major contribution of NMIMS, I would say. And without NM, I don't think I would have been able to get that clarity. Maybe some other B school I would have gone, I would have, or I may not have, but NM certainly gave it to me.
So as you said, that NMIMS has played a very important role. So was it the extracurricular activities or the academics or the faculty, or like what was that one thing which actually, just showed you your right path?
I think it was a combination of all of these. I don't think it was one thing. So one is that there were lots and lots of projects to be done. So it wasn't a theory. I don't know how they do it now. Hopefully they do it the same way. There wasn't. I mean, there were theory sessions, of course, but there were lots and lots and lots of projects, individual projects as well as group projects, and you were doing group projects, individual projects, with most of the times within the company, with some of the other company. And fortunately, because it's based in Mumbai, you could connect with lots of corporates that are based in Mumbai and get projects from them. So from Kellogg's to Z to Unilever to all sorts of companies, we would go to and say, "Sir, can you please give me a project? Sir, can you please give me a project?" And you will do a project. You'll do projects with them. So that made a lot of difference. Plus extracurricular activities, we participated because you wanted a job and you wanted to show that you have an all-rounder. You can do lots and lots of different things. So it was a combination of that. But I think the kind of students, the quality of students we had at that time, the people who came from very, very good engineering colleges, very good colleges, highly competitive, but very friendly and very sort of collaborative in that sense, that made a massive difference. Faculty, of course, was excellent. Some of the professors I'm still in touch with. Very, very good faculty that you could, and I think they treated us like equals. They didn't treat us like you're a student, you're a bacha, just do what we tell you. They treated us like equals. So we would have conversation like adults, which is a new thing for me, because in engineering college, everything was like everybody would talk down upon you and say you have to do this, you have to do that. So I think that was quite refreshing. So I remember some of the visiting faculty. For example, there was a guy from Indian Oil who used to teach us supply chain management and logistics. He was probably 8 or 10 years older than us, so must have been in the early 30s kind of thing. And he used to teach us very well, very nicely. He was very friendly. We would go out and have a smoke in the break outside the institute in the break with him and eat vada pav with him, etc. So that was the kind of relationship we had. So it was very good atmosphere in that sense. Gave a lot of freedom, gave a lot of opportunities for you to think and understand what is it that you like and participate in those kind of activities. So all that was really, really, really good. I think made a huge difference on our confidence in general as students.
Right. So like as you just said, that all the faculty was, I'm very sure, and I'm so happy to have such faculty with me. It's really, they're very helpful at all moments. Really, they're never just telling us your bacha, your bacha. They're always with us. So that's really nice. So
Oh, that's nice to hear.
yeah. So you said that you were not sure that you wanted to do advertising and MBA through NMIMS. So then why did you prefer to, choose NMIMS over other colleges?
Well, it's because NMIMS chose me over other colleges, to be honest. But basically, at that time, there were just four IIMs, so A, B, C, and L, and A, B, and C were ranked number 1, 2, 3. L was much lower in ranking at that time. Number 4 used to be Bajaj, and between 5, 6, 7, there was NM, FMS, and SPJ. So NMIMS, SPGN, and FMS used to be 5, 6, or 7, in rotation, depending on the source of rankings that you look at. So if you didn't get into the three IIMs or Bajaj, I missed Bajaj by a whisker, unfortunately. Then NMIMS was a good choice because SP Gen was still fairly new at that time, and it had already become sort of independent, which is a new thing that was coming up at that time, that they would become deemed universities and autonomous. So SP Gen was fairly new in that sense, and FMS was in Delhi. Whereas I was getting admission here in NM and I missed Bajaj by a whisker. I didn't even write CAT, unfortunately, for IIMS because by the time I decided to do these schools, the date was already gone. So it was either NMIMS or I wait for another year to get into one of the IIMS or other institutes. So then I thought, okay, NM it is. It was Mumbai based, seemed familiar, seemed to be in the top 10. So I said, yeah, okay, I'm going to go for that.
So since you wanted to go to one of those colleges, so you must have had certain expectations, right, before getting into the college. So what were your expectations before getting into the college, and how were they different after coming out? So like, did it match, or how was it?
Yeah, I mean, after engineering, VJTI 4 years, basically I didn't do much except a lot of partying, a lot of fun, just study in the last few weeks before the exam. And my objective after till 12th, I was a topper in my school, and I always performed the best, etc. But when I landed in VJTI, I was like, I'm not going to study for 4 years because that's all I've done in my life. So I decided not to study. So I was the last bencher, and I was in the last 10 in my class always. Managed to finish it in 4 years, though didn't fail, but managed to finish it. So but after that, I realized total disillusionment, like I was saying, total loss in terms of focus as to what do you want to do, what do I want to do. I had no clarity. And I jumped into B school because I thought I wanted to do advertising. And I actually called up an ad agency and said, I want a job. So they told me, they asked me if I was creative. I said, yeah, I'm very creative. So they said, can you write? No, I can't write. Can you draw? I said, no, I can't draw. They said, can you, do animation? No, I can't do animation. So they said, why are you saying you're creative? So I said, but I can think creatively. So they said, no, there's no such job. We can't give you a job in advertising. If you think you can do, you're creative, but actually can't produce anything creative. So, but we can take in fan servicing. But you'll have to do an MBA for that. So that's how I started thinking about MBA, because advertising is what attracted me. So I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, and the family background that I come from, my both parents were teachers. In school, my mom was in school and my dad was in college, so they were both teachers. So my elder siblings, they are doctors. They're not into corporate world. So nobody in my family, my cousins, nobody was in the corporate world. So I had no idea what to expect in a corporate world, and I had no idea what to expect from a B school. I just thought that experience should be better than VJTI, in the sense that I want to be more focused, because I was coming from a job that I hated. I wanted to be a lot more focused, and so I thought, I'm just going to do better. So I didn't know what to expect, but whatever expectations I had, I think the institute turned out to be far better than that. At least it helped me a lot more than what I had thought it would help me to turn around. Definitely. It gave me a lot of confidence. Like I was saying, it made me realize what I really liked and what I wanted to do in life. So yes, definitely far more than expectations.
So happy
Long
to
answer to your short question.
So, sir, we know about you, and we know that you, along with being the CMI director at Unilever, you're also a guest lecturer at the Indian Institute of Management and the visiting faculty of MICA. So, can you share So, can you share your experience as to how do you manage time and how are you able to achieve all your targets and goals?
Yeah, interesting. So time management is something that you learn over a period of time. You've got to, so my calendar is like booked every 15 minutes from 8:30 in the morning till about 8:39 in the night. So 1 hour meeting, half hour meetings, 15-minute meetings, whatever. And my secretary sort of monitors it very closely, etc. So calendar management, time management has become key, and you've got to do that. But the other thing is that you've got to start realizing as to what do you enjoy doing the most, what do you like doing the most. So yes, I love human psychology, and I like statistics, and I love marketing and advertising in the B school in NM that I enjoyed. So I thought consumer insights, market research is something that combines human psychology with the world of marketing with statistics very, very nicely. So I consciously decided to go after a career in research. And also what happened at that time, there were research agencies in the country, there were advertising agencies. And while I got into NM thinking I'm going to go to an ad agency, what happened was that before the campus placements, I took, I took a few days to seriously think about the kind of career I wanted. So I spoke to a lot of people, my seniors in ad agencies who had gone to ad agencies from NM, Low, Ogilvy, those kind of companies. And I spoke to them about the life in ad agency. What did they do? What was actually job like? And I realized that I didn't want to do the job because they told me that for first 5 years or 6 years, 7 years in an ad agency, you will basically be getting coffee for the creative directors. So you will not be able to, you will not do any meaningful work. You'll have to sort of do that for a few years before you can start making your impact and people start respecting you. So I was like, I can't be getting coffee for first 5 years. I have already done the job that I hated. I cannot do another job that I don't like. So I decided not to go for an advertising agency. And after a lot of careful thinking, I decided that I wanted to do research and consumer insights and not go to sales or marketing. Because at that time, at least the best of the companies like Unilever, P&G, etc., used to come to campus for recruitment. But the problem was that none of the agencies, research agencies, would come to NMIMS for placements. The advertising agencies did, but the research agencies didn't. So I got myself into a placement committee. I was already part of it, but then I went and said, okay, I will be, as soon as the second year started, I will be the head of vertical, which is agencies. So my job will be to get ad agencies and research agencies onto the campus, because you divide people saying you're FMCG, you're finance, blah blah. So it was my job to go and pitch to agencies and research agencies. I was the only one interested in. There were finally 2-3 people who got into research eventually. So I got them to campus and I joined one of the agencies. After that, for 4 years later, I also worked for an ad agency for a couple of years just to see whether my advice I was given was right or wrong. And they were absolutely right. I hated my job in ad agency again. But for the first 4-5 years, I was in a research agency. So I've realized, therefore, that I do best what I enjoy doing. What I really like doing is something that I do best, and that makes me interested. And something that I don't feel passionate about, I don't like doing it. So then why pay attention to it? So therefore, I spend a lot of time. So teaching is something that I like. Like I said, understanding people, psychology is that I love. So I love teaching. I'm also passionate about getting the right talent in the consumer insights industry, in the analytics industry, because a lot of people don't know what, like your first question, what does consumer insights professional do? People don't know, and people don't know what kind of careers exist. People don't know what kind of a job it would be. So therefore, I go to MICA. MICA is at Mudra Institute of Communication and Advertising. It's an institute based in Ahmedabad. So I run a full course there on advanced marketing decisions based on research, a course which I run full course, about 12, 15 sessions. I've been doing that for last several years. I am Lucknow. I've started teaching since last couple of years. So I do that. And NM, I've spoken to them a few times, but they've called me once in a while for some occasional guest lecture, but I'm not a regular visiting faculty at NM, but so I do occasionally come there. So I like doing that. And I find I find my passion for that. So I find time for it. So a lot of my lectures, for example, in MICA and I'm Lucknow, happen on weekends, on Saturday, Sunday. So from October first week to December first week, when I'm running this course, for example, every Saturday, Sunday morning is blocked, and one day, 2-3 hours of one of the weekdays is blocked as well for those lectures that I have to take. So I find time for the things that I'm passionate about, and I do those. Sorry, very very long answer again.
Well, that was really informative and it's very helpful for us to know, since we're just budding engineers, and when we'll have to know how to manage our time. It's really difficult at times when we have so much of things to do. So it's actually
You got to prioritize what you love doing. And I always, I mean, even in at work where I work with my teams, I say that you have to look at your work in this way. And same applies to in engineering as well. Let's say you have to do 10 projects in a year. You probably do a lot more than that, but I'm just using 10 as a number. But let's say you have to do 10 projects in a year across 2 semesters, across 7-8 subjects in every semester. What you have to do is that you identify 2 or 3 projects that you will do really, really well in. And those are the projects are about the subjects that you're interested in, that you're passionate about, and that you love. So projects that you would love doing, identify these 3 projects. I will do the best job, best amongst everyone. Identify another 5 or 6 projects, and you'll do an above average job. So that you're not seen as somebody who's slacking and doing only well in those 3 projects. Everything else is totally unacceptable quality. So nobody should say that. So do 2 or 3 really really exceptional. Do 5 or 4 or 5 that are above average, good delivery. Do 3 or 4 remaining projects where you do just about an average job, so that you don't fail or don't do a bad job, but do just about an average job. then what would happen is that you would derive a lot more satisfaction because you would have spent a lot of time on the top 2, 3 projects that you're passionate about. You would have done best and you'll be famous for those. You'll be known for those.
Hmm.
But there'll be no project in which you've really failed miserably. There will be 4, 5 projects in which you've done an average job, 4, 5 projects in which you've done above average job, but 2, 3 projects that you'll be famous for and that will meet your passion. So it's important to strategize that at the beginning of the year, saying what is the classification of those stone projects, which are those 2, 3 outstanding projects, which are the above average and which are the average projects, so that you can focus on them accordingly. Gives you a lot of clarity. There's no point in trying to be best at everything. You will not be. You will only waste your energy on that. So identify what you want to be best at and then flow with it accordingly, I would say.
Right, so this is really very helpful, and I think it's going to help us so much in our future as well. So, sir, we also know that you've traveled a lot in all the different countries and you've had different jobs as well at different places. So, again, I would like to ask, how was your journey, and how did you manage to, be at so many places and do so many jobs at the same time?
Interesting. So I never when growing up or doing engineering, I never thought that I wanted to live abroad. That was never a I was never fascinated particularly by living abroad, though a lot of people are. A lot of most of my friends in engineering college, for instance, are abroad, and most my close friends from NM also we were, and most of them are abroad as well. Nobody's in India anymore. But I never fancied living abroad somehow. But once I got into Unilever, then after about a year and a half, I got into a regional role where my role involved all of Asia. I was looking after Lux insights for Lux for all of Asia region actually. Um, so that required a lot of travel. So for the next 10, 12 years when I was in Unilever, I traveled extensively on work, meeting consumers in different parts of the world, working on different projects, etc. Then I got an opportunity to live abroad. Unilever moved me to Bangkok. I lived in Bangkok for about 3 years. Then they moved me to Singapore, where I lived for 3.5 years. Then London for about 3 years. So for 9 or 10 years, I was living abroad in different countries, which absolutely loved it. I think the opportunity, particularly if you're living abroad for a while, then the opportunity to mix with different cultures, know people from different cultures, see how they work, see how you work differently, how they eat, etc., is very, very different, and that's fascinating to see, and that's a very interesting experience. Even if you're visiting for a holiday, for example, then you don't get to soak in the culture as much. But if you're living there, then it's a lot more. Because I work for Unilever and we make from soaps to soups, we make soaps and shampoos and detergents and soups and noodles and
Mhm.
everything that a lot of products we make. I'm very used to doing consumer visits, and I'm in consumer insights, of course. But what do people eat? What do people buy? What do they consume at home? Is something that I am used to looking at and understanding. In the 18 years, I'm about to finish 18 years in Unilever now. So you walk into somebody's house, and even if I go to a friend's house or some family member's house, my antennas just go up, and I immediately notice what are the kind of products they have in the bathroom. What shampoo do they have? What shampoo they have? Or what
Mhm.
masalas they have in the kitchen? What are they cooked now? What are they using? I'm just totally attuned towards watching all of that, and watching all of that in anybody's house abroad. Like, how do Thai consumers cook food? What oil do they use? What products, masalas do they use? What shampoos and soaps are they using? What detergent do they use? What washing machine do they have? Do they use a washing machine? Similarly, British, what do they do? How do they live their house? How is a British house different from an Indian house or a Thai house? I'm curious about that. And as an insight professional, that's my job as well. But that curiosity makes you travel a lot more, makes you see different cultures, makes you see how people live, makes you spend time with them and understand as human beings how they are and what drives them, what motivates them. I find that absolutely fascinating, and therefore the travels help you immensely in that direction.
Mm. That's very fascinating, actually. So, you said that you weren't really fascinated to go and travel and stay abroad, right? But then your job made you do it. So there are, certain times where you were supposed to select from two decisions, either this or that. So how did you manage? Like,
In
obviously,
terms
it
of
happens with everybody, and
what sort of decisions, like job decisions, travel decisions? What do you mean?
yeah, like your career and job decisions.
Yeah. So as I was saying, initially I was drawn to advertising, and that's why I went to do a B school. But then I decided to go to insights because I liked marketing and statistics and human insights, human psychology. So I went to research. But after staying in research for about 4 or 5 years, I was wondering whether I'm going to remain in research all my life or should I do something different. So then I went to an ad agency and I spent a couple of years at an ad agency in a media function, actually. And then I didn't enjoy it as much. I didn't hate it as much as my blue star job, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I was enjoying research. But I stayed on for nearly 2 years there, 1 year and 3/4 of a year. And then I went back to research because I thought I liked that a lot more. It gave me a lot more clarity saying, okay, research it is, and I don't want to do advertising, I want to do research. And by then I had already finished 6, 7 years in my career. So getting into a brand management role wasn't that easy because I was out of that kind of thing. And anyway, brand management didn't excite me particularly. So then I decided to go back to research. I worked in a couple of research agencies for some time, and then I got into Unilever. So Unilever was I was always sure that I should work in the research agency first, because that's where you learn the ropes of research and insights a lot more than working on research on the client side. Because on client side, you're the user and you sort of working with agencies on the research. You don't do the research yourself. So I wanted to do it myself first and learn that. So which is why I didn't jump onto the client side early on. I jumped on the client side after about 7.5, 8 years of working. So once I came to Unilever, then I worked with different agencies and I moved around in different roles. Uh, when I joined Unilever, to be honest, my thinking was that Unilever at that point in time used to be very decentralized sort of an organization. So every country Unilever was a very different company. They were doing their own thing. They were not so connected to Unilever. Companies were not connected. It wasn't a global organization. But at that time, things were changing when I joined in 2003. They were becoming a global organization. They was all sort of all coming together. So I thought it'd be a cool job to be head of insights globally for one particular category, like soaps, or shampoos, or detergents, or whatever. It'll be so cool to be global head of insights for a category, because then you will understand everything about that category across the world. You will understand how people behave differently. You will need to produce insights that are used for advertising, for product innovation, etc. That'll be so cool. So I joined with an ambition of doing that job eventually. I joined obviously looking after one category in India from insights point of view. So that drove my decision. So I moved to Bangkok because it was progressing me further towards my dream job of doing that. Then I moved to Singapore, it moved me further. Then I moved to London. London is when I eventually got that job. I was head of insights for the foods category globally. And Knorr is the brand that I was working on. Knorr is one of Unilever's biggest brand. In India, it's very, very small, with the soups and the noodles, but globally it's one of the biggest brands. So I was the head of Unilever's biggest brand insights based in London. So that was something that I wanted to do. So I moved to London for that. It made sense. And then uske baad I thought, abhi to whatever job I wanted to do in Unilever, to ho gaya. Now what am I going to do next? There's nothing left for me to do. So then they said, why don't you go back to India and be head of insights for Hindustan Lever? Now, Hindustan Unilever obviously is a big organization. It's highly reputed in India. Within the Unilever world, it's also a highly respected organization. So to be the head of insights for that was not even in my dream list. So they said, why don't you go do that? And I was part of the Hindustan Unilever leadership team. When you come back, because insights has its share. So that was an obviously a no-brainer to say yes to say. I mean, I had to say yes because it's such an interesting, exciting job. So I came back to India for that. So I did that for 3 years, and then I moved back to a global role within Insights, where I now look after the most cutting-edge insights facility within Unilever. We do a lot of social listening, we do a lot of search-based analytics, and we do a lot of analytics using first-party data and so on. So I moved to that. So my decisions have been made on either what I wanted to do or what I find exciting and interesting to do at that point in time. Simple as that.
Right. That's really nice. You really have a very, it's from here to here to here. It's at all different places, but it's really fascinating to hear.
Yeah, I think the life has come a long way. So I was born and brought up in Ulhasnagar. I don't know if you're familiar, if you know suburb called
Yeah, I know.
Ulhasnagar in Mumbai. So a lot of Sindhis are from there. I'm a Sindhi. So I studied in a Sindhi medium school there, where all my subjects were in English. I didn't even know how to sort of speak properly in English when I went to 11th. 11th, 12th, I had to do in a college, junior college. So, and my parents moved to India after partition during Pakistan. So came here with no money. So from that, growing up in Ulhasnagar in a Sindhi medium government school, to be able to come and do the job, life has come a long way for sure. And I think the different decisions obviously push you in a certain direction more and more. So, but I'm glad where I am.
Story is really inspiring to all of us. So, sir, this is going to be the last question from our end. So, what's that advice that you would like to give to all the incoming freshers to the corporate world?
That's a difficult one. Um, I don't know, but my experience tells me that um, there is nothing that you get handed over on a platter. Nothing. You have to work and fight for everything in life. So sometimes it feels like, oh, look at that person. That's so easy for them. They are in a richer family, or they're better educated, or whatever. They're better looking, or they've got a better job. So life always looks easy for others, and it feels like we have to fight. But the reality is that everybody has to fight, for what they get in life. Nothing gets handed to you on a platter. So it may look like that others are getting things on a platter, but nobody does in reality. So to keep in mind, and but then you have to got to pick and choose your battles. If you got to fight for what you want on the platter, then you need to be you need to be not very sure, but at least reasonably sure, and the clarity will come as you go along. Reasonably sure of what you want on the platter. Do you want a corporate job? Do you want a business to be running off your own? Do you want to be teaching? What do you want? So if you want a corporate job, then do you want to be the CEO, or do you want to be the technical expertise? Like you're doing engineering, so you could be the CTO, or you could be the technical head or R&D head of a company eventually. So do you want to be that, or do you want to be the CEO, or do you want to be a marketing, or do you want to be an academician? Do you want to run your own business? So, like I was saying, what do you want on the platter is something that you have to decide, and that clarity will come over a period of time. And you must keep thinking every few years, stop and pause and say, is this what I want on my platter to be? Or do I want something else? And if you want something else, then change it as soon as possible. Start fighting for the new set of platters, if you like. So I think these are the two things which have worked for me. Never assume that you will get things on a platter. Don't assume that others are getting things on a platter. Nobody does. Second thing is, what you get on the platter is entirely up to you. So you got to decide. And there is no harm in saying, I don't want to be a CEO, or I don't want to be the R&D head, or I don't want to be the business owner. There's no harm in saying that. You say, okay, I want to be head of marketing, or I want to be head of my own business. I want to be this. But just go after that with full passion. If you don't go after it with full passion, you're not going to get it.
That's all. So thank you so much, sir, to share your experience with us. It was very inspiring and motivational to all of us. And we're so grateful to have you with us today. And it really means a lot to us. You gave us your precious time. So thank you so much, sir, and have a good day.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you find it useful and not too much of gyan packed in half an hour. But happy to chat, and let me know if you need any help.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.